Someone once told me cream rises at the top, and you have to take a time for it to rise. So you give it a little set time. And so don't be in such a hurry and do your job today well. Don't be looking up what's the next role, who can I beat out here. Do today's job well.
Welcome to Encouraging Leaders, a podcast that exists to remind CEOs and aspiring CEOs that they're not alone. I'm Mark DeBron, and today we're joined by somebody who has breathed courage into me and to so many leaders around the world. Bill George is an executive fellow at Harvard Business School, author of True North, Emerging, Leader Edition, and so many other titles, and former chair and CEO of Medtronic. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mark. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to be with you and later with the fabulous group of people, of leaders.
Yeah. We were talking before this, and you were just sharing about a little bit of your purpose. Why in business do you think it's important to have both purpose and profit?
Well, I think that's purpose is the raison d'etre. It's the reason for being for your organization. That's what aligns people. People today are not just getting inspired by making $2.91 a share. They come together about a higher purpose, and particularly the millennial generation, that's essential. But profits are required to fuel the growth of your company. It's like the fuel in your tank. Without fuel, you can't go forward. And so that's extraordinarily important that you have both. And there's no reason why you can't do both. If you fulfill your purpose, you should make a lot more profits. And then you take those profits and plow them back in. You can't give them all back to the shareholders.
Yeah, so it allows for reinvestment. I think, you're talking about the youth and their desire and loud voices around purpose. Do you think it's a new thing that people need purpose in their life? Or what do you think about, is it only for the youth or is it for all of us?
Well, no, it's for all of us, but it's much more prominent today than it was, say, 20 years ago. In the Jack Welch era, it was all about making money. In fact, that's all the mission that GE had. And you see Boeing in recent times kind of shift away from creating great aircraft, being the world's leading aviation leader, to making a lot of money in return to their shareholders. And so that's a tragedy when the companies do that. So I think the great corporations sustain themselves, know how to do both purpose and profits, like Johnson & Johnson.
Yeah, tell me about Johnson & Johnson. What have you seen of them that's made them so great?
Well, they were kind of the original purpose-driven company with the J&J credo. And you go into the headquarters, I'll tell you, it's about 12 feet high or 20 feet high, the list of all the points of the credo. And Alex Corsione was CEO. He followed that every single day. And I think that's key. And at Medtronic, we focus on a mission, restoring people to full life and health. That's all Earl Bakken cared about, our founder. And we focused on that. In fact, we had a very unusual metric we used. It was not financial. Financials were great, by the way. It was how many seconds will it take till somebody's life is restored by a Medtronic product? When I went there, this is 30 years ago, it was about 100 seconds. And when I left, it was 7 seconds. Today, it's 2 per second. So you've now gone from 300,000 people being treated to 74 million lives being restored. That's what inspires people.
Yeah, and so it gives a reason for growth. You're not only growing for growth's sake, you're growing to actually help more people in that business and by what you do so well.
That requires profits that you can reinvest in the business. You can't just keep borrowing money, obviously. So you need to have the profitability to reinvest in growth.
So it feels like recently, at least the last 10 years, it's been pretty clear that businesses need to have purpose and they need to be able to articulate that. Why don't more do it? Why is it so hard?
Well, a lot of them are caught up with us trying to meet their short-term shareholder needs. And purpose is more of a long-term thing. It's a thing that evolves over time. If you're a pharmaceutical company, it takes 10 years to develop a new drug. And a lot of people have not wanted to wait that long. They've been impatient, want to do it right now. The best way to do it right now is cut costs. But the reality is, Mark, you can't cost cut your way into prosperity. You can't build a business that way. Sometimes you can trim back. There's nothing wrong with that, like some companies do. But I think if you're going to build for the long term, you've got to have clarity of purpose and you have to have a clear path to significant profitability.
I work mainly in the privately held businesses. And in St. Louis, we've got so many beautiful privately held businesses, family generational businesses and other. Now, they don't have the same stock pressure, investment pressure. So what makes it difficult there?
Well, I think there sometimes you have problems with transition for founders and family ownership to professional ownership, even if the family still owns it. In fact, up here in Minnesota, we have the Cargill Corporation, a great example of the family having turned it over to now 4 successive CEOs in a row who have done a great job. But they're just as profit-oriented as for-profit companies. And I think that they have a longer view. And I think that's the big difference with private. They tend to have a much longer view of how to get there. They're trying to build something for the future.
So in either case, you end up having to raise your eyes and look out further to be able to build purpose in, because it's not a short-term game, it's a long-term game. When you look back at your leadership, when was the first time you remember thinking, oh boy, I cannot do this alone. Like there's no way that I'm smart. I can't get there alone. I need help and support.
I was made general manager of Litton Microwave Cooking Products back when I was 27 years old. And, we got hit with an FDA challenge about radiation. I knew that I had to have the team. I've never had in my whole career as much knowledge of people that work for me. So you need to surround yourself with people that know more than you do, that are better than you do at what they do, and then make them enterprise leaders to share the responsibilities with you. And it's all about a team. The media gives credit to this person on top, this all powerful person, man or woman. But I think its key is how strong is the team. And people don't look enough at how strong the leaders are in every role. That's what makes great companies, not just in the C-suite, but down middle management at all levels, even very first line supervisors.
When you have strong leaders at every level and you have them all learning and growing together towards that common purpose. You write about in True North, leaders finding their authentic leadership. What does that mean to you?
Being real, being genuine, being who you are, who you're created to be. See, what I saw back in the 90s, a lot of people trying to be something different than they were, trying to put on an image to be charismatic when they weren't, kind of a facade. And there are even authors that wrote about you could fake it till you make it. This is nonsense. You have to be who you are. You can't be like someone else. Everyone will see you as someone wearing a mask. And today, that's even more important because particularly the millennial generation, they'll sniff a phony in about 60 seconds. So I think you need to have people, and each leader listening to this needs to be real. And we all have shortcomings. We all make mistakes. Admit your mistakes. Admit your shortcomings. Ask people for help. If you're not a finance whiz, surround yourself with one. Sure. If you're not comfortable out closing with a customer, go out to the top salespeople with a customer. Whenever it is, have the technical knowledge, get the very best people. And that's key to any successful enterprise of any size. That's the problem with some founder, entrepreneurial companies that are created like in Silicon Valley. The tech genius thinks that he or she can run the place forever, and they can't. They need help,
right?
People around them.
Yeah. Well, you said something in there that just captured my heart. This company, Encouraging Leaders, which I get the privilege of being part of and leading, is their purpose is to encourage leaders to become everything they were created to be. It's not to create some leader that they don't. It's actually to draw out what was inside of them already.
Yeah.
And the authentic leadership, it's so difficult to get out. I think about, you mentioned masks. Why do people hide behind masks? What is driving that?
Well, they've had, we used to talk about characteristics of great leaders, and the media plays up the all-powerful, typically white male, like you and I are, as the person you want to emulate. And that's not who a lot of people are. And many of the best leaders are not. They're people of color, they're women, they're people with differences. And, you need to allow people to be who they are and to step into that role and not try to fake it till they make it, but to have very real people and just be yourself, because that's, as Thorne Wilder said, be yourself, everyone else is taken. So
I love that simple quote. Quit trying to be somebody else. I think the challenges that we face, I just think about in some of your writings about how the challenges we face start to form us into who we are or open up that ability. Talk to me about one of the challenges that you faced, or how did challenges impact your growth?
Well, I've had a lot of challenges. I'll tell you, when my father was pushing me to be a leader, and I wanted to be a leader before I knew it was all about relationships. And I remember running for election 7 times in high school and college and losing all 7. So it was pretty clear I didn't know how to lead. And so, but I've had real challenges along the way, feeling like I really had the high level of emotional intelligence, the self-awareness, how I could read the room and understand other people. I've had to learn those skills over time. And that's been real critical to me. And frankly, I don't deal well with bureaucracy. So at a certain point in time, I had to leave Honeywell to go to a much smaller company called Medtronic, which was a mid-sized company in those days. And I tell you, I felt like home. And it was a place where I could align with the values and mission, and we could build it into a very significant company. But we didn't have all the bureaucracy. So I'm anti-bureaucracy, and I think leaders have to make decisions not based on rules, but based on judgment.
Well, I think about the unique part. I did get to read a little bit about the story of when you were told that you were supposed to lead a big company, and you were in Honeywell, all set to do that.
Yeah.
And then you stepped out of that to lead a small, quote, small company relative to that size. Tell me, that's a challenge. That's a challenge to a challenging belief inside of you. Tell me what.
That was my midlife principle, Mark. One day I was just driving home from work, and all of a sudden it hit me. I'm not being myself. This is not what I want to do. It'd take me 10 years to get this company back to where it was 10 years ago. And so, but I did love the bureaucracy, and there was no real purpose other than making money at that time. So I came over to my wife then. She said, "That's what I've been telling you for a long time." So I called Metro. I turned Medtronic back down for jobs 3 times. Same job, president, chief operating officer. I called the CEO back and said, "Is the job still open? I'd like to put my hat in the ring." And it was the best thing I ever did. And yeah, it meant a whole different step down to a smaller company, but then build it up through innovation. And we were able to grow the company over a 20-year period at, I think, 18% compounded per year. So we had tremendous growth, and I loved it. Loved every second.
Yeah, phenomenal growth results. And you got to do it building up leadership and actually practicing your own authentic leadership and helping others do that same thing. How critical is that skill that you have built over time and write about of unlocking the authentic leadership in others? So as the CEO, how critical is that skill? I call it coaching, but whatever you want to call it, how critical is that skill for you?
It's absolutely essential. My mission is to enable leaders to reach their full potential. And that's my purpose in life. And I do that through a lot of mentoring and coaching and working with leaders throughout my career. I realize I've been doing that since I was in college. I've never been the expert. I don't desire it if every later in my life depended on it. I'm not the expert in anything, but I can help people realize their potential by being real and by being who they want to be and what are their hopes and dreams, and work together to see how they can fulfill those hopes and dreams, but only by being real. So I don't have a lot of time for inauthentic people or phonies, people that are marked just out for themselves and want to aggrandize themselves and take credit for what other people do. I like people that know how to build teams dedicated to a common sense of purpose.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes I get this image where people are like leaving that work to the authors and the speakers and the Harvard professors, which you happen to be a beautiful one of. But I think that's what you were doing as CEO, that you were doing this job as president CEO. And I think about that, how do we get more leaders understanding that is their role?
Yeah.
And not just that they're supposed to leave that, outsource that to somebody to come in and do.
You can't outsource who you are. No, you have to realize that's your role, but you have to feel good inside yourself. You have to feel grounded. You have to feel secure. You have to know who you are. And that's your true north. Until you really know who you are and accept the fact, this is what I believe. These are my beliefs. These are my values. These are my principles. I'll stand up for them. I see a lot of people with the title of CEO that have no courage. They're not willing to stand behind what they believe. They're trying to believe this group or that group, or they're playing the political game and look at both sides. You can't win in that game. You have to be true to what you believe. And if people don't like it, tough. You stand for something, and that's the way you do it. And you won't get criticized. Anytime you're in a leadership role, you're going to kick a lot of arrows.
Right.
But you stand up for something, and that everyone will respect you. Everyone inside your organization, your customers will respect you, and ultimately your investors will.
Yeah. So I think I'm just thinking about the 2 steps that I hear you describing. One is you have to be okay with who you are. You have to become your authentic self yourself, right? That is the first thing that you're describing. And that can be a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. You're actually having to learn and discover your own values and figure out how to lead and get your own voice back and all that stuff. The second one that I'm sharing is you're actually doing it for other people. You're helping them do it. And you were doing that in the CEO role. You were actually helping them find their authentic self. So is it that it has to happen first for yourself before you can help others? Is it an ordered thing? Like you have to get to where you're authentically leading before you can help others authentically lead?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Leadership is an inner journey and an outer journey. The inner journey is knowing who you are and dealing with your crucibles, living through your life story, being proud of who you are, whatever difficulties you have, and building on that base, that solid base of knowing who you are, having dealt with really tough times, which we call crucibles, crises in your life. That the best leaders I know have all suffered very significant crises or crucibles in their lives, and they've grown from that experience. The golden boy or golden girl that just goes through life and everything ever goes wrong will not be a good leader. But you have to do that. But then you can't just go out and lead people unless you can lead yourself, because the hardest person you'll ever have to lead is yourself. So when you do that, then you're grounded enough to go out and empower other leaders. And you have the security to do it. And you surround yourself with people that are better than you are in what they do. And that's the key to leadership, is building a team. Maybe some of those leaders go way beyond you. Maybe they'll take your job. That's terrific. If you have that kind of team, I'll guarantee you'll outperform your competitors, though. But it is that two stage that you mentioned, an inner journey and then the outer journey.
I think about the home life. A lot of times when I'm working with the CEO or senior leader, we're working on their business life, but it also impacts their home life. And they've got kids and they're watching them grow. And, as a father, the greatest joy is whenever our kids actually outstrip us. They go beyond us. They're like, wow, they outgrew us, right? They become better. And it's the coolest thing in the world. But it does take the same stuff. It has to be okay that they do that. We can't hold them down or push them or prod them. It has to actually be them and their leadership that we're actually unlocking instead of our own.
I think, Mark, the best leaders today have an integrated life. Their work life, their personal life, their home life, their family and friends, and their community. You have to be the same person every one of those environments. I wasn't that way in my early 30s, I can assure you. And I found I had to kind of knock down all the walls and be the same person and to be who I was. But I think today people want to have that integrated life, and particularly millennials are demanding that. And some of the senior leaders don't understand it, but you're not going to work 100 hours a week. In fact, you'd be a terrible leader if you tried to work 100 hours a week, because you wouldn't know how to delegate to your people, and you would overmanage, and you'd be always second guessing them. So I think you need to have that integrated life, and that makes you a better leader.
Yeah. Well, I just love the fact that the youth is saying it louder. It's just that it's actually human beings. We actually need a purpose in our life. We need integration between all of our sides. So thank you so much for calling out the integration of our lives. Lastly, as you look back, I know when you stepped up to that general manager position, or when you stepped up to the president role, whatever it was, but when you look back at that and you're the younger you, what would be something you would tell yourself and say, hey, listen, Bill, do this, remember this as you're going through the journey?
Life is long. The journey to leadership is a long way. It's not a destination. Stop thinking about you want to get to the top. Just take it easy and focus on today, and stop thinking so much where you're going to be in 10 years. Because I did too much of that, kind of planning out. And frankly, I'm thrilled with where I wound up, but that was not where I planned to wind up. So I think you have to take it a step at a time, and don't be in such a hurry. That's what I tell myself. And it will come. And someone once told me cream rises at the top, but you have to take time for it to rise. So you give it a little set time. And so don't be in such a hurry, and do your job today well. Don't be looking up what's the next role, who can I beat out here. Do today's job well.
I love those 2 points. I love those. Basically stay in the present and celebrate the journey. It's going to be a long one. And the other one that you mentioned, which is just do well, do your job now. Don't try to be the next person. Just actually perform now. Just enjoy the job and actually do it well, so that you can actually learn and grow.
And CEOs looking for that. Who is doing their job really well? They aren't the people that are trying to nice up to the C-suite. They're the ones that are really performing.
Yeah. The only requirement for the next role is that you're actually doing the one. You can't just actually only want the next one. It's great. I love that advice. So, if you're a young president looking to build profit and purpose in your business, book a call with me. I would love to find time at encouragingleaders.com. Love to hear what's on your mind and see how we might encourage you. Other than that, thank you for listening. And Bill George, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.